Meryl Streep, a name that defines Hollywood greatness. With 3 Oscars, more than 20 nominations, and a career that spans over 4 decades, she isn't just an actress, she's a living legend. When we think of Meryl, we picture the red carpets, the unforgettable roles, the standing ovations. But behind the spotlight, away from the flashing cameras, she's played a role that the public rarely sees, the role of a mother. Few people realize that Meryl Streep has 4 children. 4 kids who grew up not in the constant chaos of Los Angeles, but in a quieter world, shielded from the frenzy of celebrity life by their parents, Meryl and her husband, sculptor Don Gummer. And while the world celebrated Meryl's every performance, her children were quietly figuring out how to navigate life in the shadow of one of the most famous women alive. Some chose to follow in her footsteps, stepping into Hollywood on their own terms. Others carved out very different paths, chasing passions far away from the red carpet. Each of them faced the same question: do I live under my mother's towering legacy, or do I create one of my own? This is not just the story of a movie star. This is the untold story of Mamie, Grace, Henry, and Louisa, the 4 children of Meryl Streep, and where they are now. Life as the child of Meryl Streep wasn't the typical Hollywood upbringing you might imagine. While many A-list celebrities raised their children in the glare of Los Angeles, Meryl and her husband, acclaimed sculptor Don Gummer, chose a very different path. They built their family home in Connecticut, far away from the red carpets, paparazzi, and constant tabloid headlines. For Meryl, protecting her children's childhood was more important than feeding the Hollywood machine. She wanted them to grow up climbing trees instead of walking red carpets, riding bikes instead of being chased by photographers. In interviews, she often stressed that her biggest role was not on the screen, but at home, as a mother who wanted her kids to have normal lives. But of course, when your mom is Meryl Streep, normal only goes so far. Her children were no strangers to award shows and backstage green rooms. They were raised around artists, musicians, and actors, people who shaped culture and defined eras. At the dinner table, conversations weren't just about school or homework, but about art, theater, and creativity. Each of the 4 children absorbed this environment in their own way. For Henry, the eldest, it planted the seeds of music. For Mamie, Grace, and Louisa, it created a deep love of storytelling and performance. Even though Meryl never pushed them into the spotlight, the rhythm of creativity was all around them, woven into their childhoods as naturally as breathing. Growing up, Streep meant living between 2 worlds: the ordinary, quiet family life in Connecticut, and the extraordinary shadow of a mother who would go down in history as one of the greatest actresses of all time. Every great family story starts with the firstborn, and for Meryl Streep and Don Gummer, that was Henry Wolfe, born in 1979. As the only son, Henry grew up with 3 younger sisters, and from the very beginning he set himself apart. While his mother was captivating the world on screen, Henry was discovering his own creative voice, not through film, but through music. Unlike some celebrity children who dive headfirst into Hollywood, Henry took a quieter, more soulful route. He studied at Dartmouth College and later at the University of California, Los Angeles, where he explored his passion for music. In the early 2000s, Henry co-founded the indie pop band Bravo Silver, releasing music that gained underground attention. But after the band split, he struck out as a solo artist. Henry's sound was unique, a mix of folk, jazz, and indie pop, the kind of music that doesn't chase chart-topping fame but instead speaks to a dedicated audience. He released albums like Linda Vista and Encino, showcasing his skills as a songwriter and pianist. His music even caught the attention of filmmakers, with songs featured in movies like Julie and Julia, a film that, in a full-circle moment, starred his mother. But Henry never leaned on the Streep name. In fact, many fans who stumbled upon his music had no idea he was Meryl Streep's son, and that's exactly how he wanted it. His career was about artistry, not celebrity. Today, Henry Wolfe continues to create, performing in intimate venues, releasing music on his own terms, and raising a family of his own. He may not dominate headlines like his mother, but in his world, success isn't measured by fame, it's measured by authenticity. For Henry, the firstborn of the Streep-Gummer clan, music became not just a career, but a way to carve out an identity entirely separate from Hollywood. If Henry Wolfe found his voice in music, the second child of Meryl Streep and Don Gummer inherited her mother's unmistakable gift for performance. Born in 1983, Mamie Gummer didn't just look like her mother. She shared that same magnetic presence that could light up a stage or screen. From an early age, Mamie seemed destined for acting. But growing up with a mother who was considered the greatest actress alive came with both inspiration and an enormous weight of expectation. How do you step into an industry where your mother is the gold standard? Mamie answered that question by diving into theater. She studied at Northwestern University, honing her craft before stepping onto Broadway and the New York stage. There she proved that she was more than just Meryl's daughter. She was a performer in her own right. Critics praised her emotional depth and her ability to carry complex roles with confidence. Her career soon expanded into television and film. Audiences came to know her from The Good Wife, where she played the recurring role of attorney Nancy Crozier, and from her starring role in Emily Owens' MD. While the series only lasted one season, it showcased Mamie's natural charisma and range. She also appeared in films such as Ricky and The Flash, acting alongside her mother in a rare on-screen pairing. Yet despite her talent, Mamie has often faced the challenge of comparisons. Every performance, every role, inevitably linked back to her mother. But Mamie's career reflects resilience, a steady building of work on her own terms. Outside of acting, Mamie's personal life has also drawn attention. She married actor Benjamin Walker in 2011, though the couple later divorced. In 2019, she remarried and soon welcomed her first child, making Meryl Streep a grandmother. For Mamie, the journey hasn't been about escaping her mother's shadow. It's been about proving that talent runs in the family. And while she may never seek the global fame of Meryl Streep, Mamie Gummer has earned her place as a respected actress with her own voice, her own identity, and her own story. If Mamie Gummer showed the world that talent runs in the family, Grace Gummer took it a step further, carving out her own unique place in Hollywood. Born in 1986, Grace is often called the spitting image of her mother, especially in her younger years. The resemblance was so striking that she actually portrayed a younger version of Meryl's character in the 1993 film The House of the Spirits. But Grace didn't leap straight into stardom. Like her siblings, she pursued education first, studying at Vassar College before turning her focus fully to acting. When she stepped into the spotlight, she quickly made waves in both film and television. Audiences began to recognize her from roles in The Newsroom, Extant, and most notably, the critically acclaimed series Mr. Robot. In Mr. Robot, Grace played FBI agent Dominique DiPiero, a role that cemented her as a powerful screen presence. Critics praised her intensity and vulnerability, proving she wasn't just following in Meryl's footsteps, she was walking her own path. Beyond TV, Grace has also worked in film and theater, balancing mainstream projects with independent films, and like her mother, she's known for her ability to disappear into roles, bringing an authenticity that captivates audiences without ever feeling forced. Her personal life has also made headlines. In 2021, she married musician Mark Ronson, a Grammy-winning producer known for hits like Uptown Funk. The couple welcomed their first child in 2023, expanding the Streep-Gummer family tree yet again. What makes Grace's journey so fascinating is her determination to succeed on her own terms. She rarely uses the street name to promote herself. Instead, she's quietly built a reputation as one of television's most reliable and dynamic actresses. In many ways, Grace embodies the balance her mother always sought: a thriving career in entertainment, but with her feet firmly planted on the ground. The youngest of Meryl Streep's 4 children, Louisa Jacobson, born in 1991, represents the newest chapter in the family's artistic legacy. Unlike her older siblings, Louisa was raised even further away from the Hollywood spotlight. Meryl and Don made sure she had the freedom to grow up quietly, and without the constant comparisons that often followed her sisters. But when Louisa finally decided to step into acting, she did so with careful preparation. She attended Vassar College, the same alma mater as her mother, and later studied drama at the prestigious Yale School of Drama. This wasn't just a career choice, it was a craft she built brick by brick, following the discipline of serious theater training. Her first big breakthrough came not on the silver screen, but on the stage. Louisa's early performances in New York theater productions earned her strong reviews, with critics noting her ability to command attention with a blend of vulnerability and quiet strength. For someone often described as shy in her younger years, the transformation was remarkable. Then, Louisa made her television debut in HBO's lavish period drama The Gilded Age, playing Marion Brooke. The series, created by the same mind behind Downton Abbey, instantly put her on the map. With a starring role in a high-profile show, Louisa stepped confidently into the public eye, proving that she wasn't simply Meryl's youngest daughter. She was a leading actress in her own right, unlike her siblings, who often moved between film, TV, and stage. Louisa has quickly become a central face of a major television series, opening doors to a promising career. And while comparisons to her mother are inevitable, Louisa has embraced the challenge with poise. For fans of Meryl Streep, Louisa Jacobson feels like a torchbearer, the youngest star who carries both her mother's elegance and her own fresh perspective into a new generation of storytelling. What does it really mean to grow up with one of the most famous women in the world as your mother? For Meryl Streep's children, it was a delicate balance between living in the glow of her success and being shielded from it. Meryl, unlike many Hollywood stars, was fiercely protective of her family's privacy. She and her husband, Don Gummer, raised their children in Connecticut, far from the buzz of Los Angeles. No paparazzi hiding in bushes, no daily tabloid stories. Instead, their kids had backyards, bicycles, and bedtime stories, but still, they knew who their mother was. They saw her on magazine covers, watched her accept Oscars, and recognized the way people looked at her in public. That kind of fame doesn't just stay outside the door, it follows you everywhere. For the Streep Gummer children, it created both pride and pressure. Imagine being in school and the teacher casually mentions The Devil Wears Prada or Sophie's Choice, and everyone turns to look at you. The constant comparisons weren't always easy to escape, yet what's remarkable is how each of them grew up grounded. Meryl made sure of it. She cooked dinners, showed up at school events, and did her best to make home life feel ordinary. In interviews, she often downplayed her fame when it came to her kids, reminding them that success wasn't about being recognized. It was about being true to yourself. And maybe that's why, despite being children of Hollywood royalty, Mamie, Grace, Louisa, and Henry all carved out paths of creativity. But without the trappings of fame-hungry lifestyles. They inherited ambition, yes, but also humility. Growing up with Meryl Streep as your mom wasn't about chasing the spotlight. It was about finding your own light, even if the world already assumed your path was written for you. For most celebrity kids, the last name is a golden ticket, a key that opens doors in Hollywood without much effort. But for Meryl Streep's 4 children, things were different. None of them wanted their careers to be defined by the word Streep. Henry Wolfe, the eldest, walked away from Hollywood altogether. While he dabbled in film briefly, he found his calling in music, a path that let him express himself without ever leaning on his mother's fame. His concerts weren't about red carpets or flashing cameras, but about intimate connections with his audience. In fact, many fans of his songs didn't even realize they were listening to Meryl Streep's son, and that was exactly how Henry wanted it. Mamie Gummer, meanwhile, stepped boldly into acting, but always chose roles that showcased her own personality. From television dramas to Broadway plays, she built a reputation as a hard-working performer. Even when she shared the screen with her mother in Ricky and the Flash, she stood her ground, proving she wasn't just there because of her last name, but because of her talent. Grace Gummer too forged her own reputation. Her standout role in Mr. Robot proved she could hold her own in one of the most acclaimed shows of its era. By that point, she wasn't Meryl Streep's daughter to audiences. She was simply Grace Gummer, a strong actress making her mark in television. And then came Louisa Jacobson, the youngest. By starring in The Gilded Age, she jumped straight into the spotlight of a major HBO series. She didn't ask for the easy route. She earned it through years of theater training and discipline. To critics and fans alike, she wasn't just the daughter of a legend. She was a new face, a rising star in her own right. Each of Meryl's children could have coasted on the family name, but instead, they chose the harder path, the one that meant building respect, step by step, in fields that often demand instant recognition. Their careers remind us that legacy doesn't mean imitation, it means inspiration. Today, each of Meryl Streep's 4 children has carved out a life that reflects who they are, not just who their mother is. So where are they now? Henry Wolfe, now in his mid-40s, continues to pursue music on his own terms. He releases indie records, performs at small but passionate venues, and lives quietly with his wife and children. For Henry, family and art are at the center of his world, not fame. Mamie Gummer is still very much a working actress. From her early TV roles to her respected stage performances, she's built a steady career. But perhaps her biggest role now is being a mother herself. Since welcoming her first child in 2019, Mamie has embraced family life while balancing acting projects, carrying forward the lessons her own mother once gave her. Grace Gummer remains a familiar face in Hollywood. After her memorable role in Mr. Robot, she's appeared in several series and films and continues to work steadily. But off-screen, her personal life has blossomed as well. Since marrying producer and musician Mark Ronson, the couple welcomed their first child in 2023, making Meryl Streep not just a grandmother once, but multiple times over. And then there's Louisa Jacobson, the youngest, and in many ways the family's new rising star. With her starring role in HBO's The Gilded Age, she stepped into the spotlight on her own terms. Critics have praised her performance, and fans are eager to see what roles she'll take on next. Louisa represents the new generation of the family's artistic legacy, just beginning to unfold. Today, all four of Meryl's children live their lives largely outside the frenzy of the tabloids. They may have grown up in the shadow of greatness, but each of them has built a career, a family, and an identity that belongs solely to them. For Meryl, perhaps that is her greatest accomplishment of all. Not just her decades of brilliance on screen, but the quiet, enduring legacy she's created at home. Meryl Streep has given the world countless unforgettable performances, from Sophie's Choice to The Devil Wears Prada and beyond. But ask her what her proudest role is, and the answer isn't on film. It's at home. For decades, she's balanced life as one of the greatest actresses in history, with life as a mother and wife. And while her name will forever be etched into Hollywood history, her greatest legacy may not be the awards or the applause, but the four children who carry her spirit forward. Henry Wolfe, the musician who chose artistry over fame. Mamie Gummer, the actress who continues to build her own body of work. Grace Gummer, the star who found her place on the biggest stages of television. And Louisa Jacobson, the rising face of a new generation, stepping into her own spotlight. Together, they tell a story that is bigger than Hollywood. It's a story of family, resilience, creativity, and the courage to step out of the shadow of greatness and create a light of your own. Meryl Streep's story may be one of red carpets and Oscars, but the story of her children is one of quiet triumph. They are proof that even in the world of celebrity, it is possible to grow, to thrive, and to write your own narrative. And as the curtain continues to rise on Louisa's career, Mamie's roles, Grace's artistry, and Henry's music, one thing is certain: the Streep Gummer legacy is far from finished. It has only just begun.